right, this is Gym Crashers. My name is Dondo. To my right, I have Maria Rios.
Yo.
And to my left, the wonderful Christie Brown, our special guest today.
Hi.
So good to have you, Christie. Now, Christie is a very special person to all of us because if Christie doesn't rock, then we cannot roll because she takes care of the young and wonderful Thalia for our Wednesday night episodes. But tonight she's joining us, which is always awesome.
Yep.
So things are moving along here, and Christie is quite an amazing person in that she is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. She is also a fitness, what would we call it, aficionado, expert. What is she? She reports to Maria, so I know that she is her protege. We'll put it that way. A fitness protege of Maria for all things jiu-jitsu and...
I would say fitness obsessed.
Obsessed. There we go.
Which is a good thing.
Well, just because you have changed. There's a transformation that people will see the next time we get Christie on, but she really has transformed as a physical person in the past year and a half or so?
2 years.
2 years. Since you guys have known each other?
No, I met her after I'd done the major transformation.
Oh, well, then I have no idea what's going on.
I'm a part of her jiu-jitsu obsession.
Okay, I thought maybe you were just grinding everything you do.
That too, but like you said, amazing person all the way around. But the most amazing thing and inspiring thing is her story. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we invited her to come on the show today, because it's so inspiring. It's so amazing. It's such a life-changing thing that it's one of those things that needs to be shared with so many people, because with her particular experiences, her story, it just sharing it with others gives, like I always tell her, your story and what you do and what you have done gives people hope. So you have to share. You have to, put it out there for others, because there's probably someone out there that is drowning, thinking that there's no way out, that there's, no way to get better at something, or they're afraid or whatever. Yeah. And she stepped up and faced so many fears that, it's important for her to share that with people, because then they see her doing it and they're like, oh shit, this is obtainable. I can actually do this. And so
let's start at the beginning. So
yes.
Tell us, Christie, 2 years ago, the journey begins. It begins with one step. You wake up and you're ready to grind it out and become that person you wanted to be. Where does that all start at?
So it actually started 3 years ago.
Okay.
I had broken my knee falling down stairs after a 14-mile bike ride. I was 340 pounds.
And you went on a 14-mile bike ride?
I did, just to see if I could do it.
That is heavy. So
yes, it took me 12 hours.
Wow. Still, you did it, right?
I did. So I was determined I was going to try this bike ride. I wanted to see if I could do it, see how far I could get. And I've been doing a little bit of bike riding because I'd already decided I wanted to lose weight.
Smart.
And I broke my knee, which put me out of commission for months, and it wasn't getting better. So kept going back, MRIs, x-rays. My doctors were looking, they couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting better. Because there was nothing wrong with me. Like my knee was healed, the tendons were healed, but I was still getting pain. And then all of a sudden I got shingles, and then I couldn't heal from that.
Wow. I always thought that was later in life that people got shingles, but young people get it too.
Young people get it too. Average, if you're under the age of 50, I think, and
I still am, thank you very much.
the more and more people in their late 20s, early 30s are getting it.
Really? That's an epidemic.
Yes.
It's going to strike somebody I know in this room, maybe. By the way, we have producer JP. Her birthday is today, so it's a special birthday episode. And producer Miguel, who's not on camera today. Thank you for being in the house. But getting back to shingles, it's a painful thing.
It is. And it was in my eyes and my ears.
Oh, snap.
So just couldn't get better from that. About the time they thought I was better, I was still having vertigo symptoms, and a lot of pain spread all over my body, and they couldn't figure it.
You had vertigo too, including with all this pain, and then a broken knee.
Yep.
And then, you're heavier than you ever wanted to be.
Yes, and it just was getting worse. And then the doctors finally said, we think you have fibromyalgia. And in my family, it hit others about the same age during the same time.
I hear about this. I don't know a lot about this, but tell me.
Yeah,
right.
Tell us about it.
So fibromyalgia is a disease, and they're still not sure totally what causes it, but they think that in my case, it was too much cortisol,
Yeah.
the stress hormone in my body for too many years. So over 15 years of high stress situation for myself caused my body to just turn on itself and start causing issues with the nerves in my body. And so we were trying to look at ways, how am I going to treat this and how am I going to manage the symptoms? Because my doctor was very straight up, if you don't learn how to manage your symptoms, you're going to be bedridden in the next 4 years.
Damn.
That is a scary diagnosis. Anybody who gets a real heavy diagnosis, I mean, it's life altering from that moment. You go home, and I know there's a process. You can't go into denial because you have to face it.
Right.
So it's why
There's
me,
no way
right?
around
Everybody
it.
goes into the
Yeah.
why me's first. You get the tears out, but the positive thinking person that Christie is, I can only imagine that you woke up and said it's not going to take over.
Yes. So my family has a history of drug dependency. And what they wanted to prescribe me at the time was lots of narcotics, antidepressants, because antidepressants actually help with the symptoms, and different things like that. And I didn't want to go that route. I wanted to stay as unmedicated as possible and see how long I could last.
You were wise.
We did everything. We tried special diets. We did elimination. I did 4 elimination diets over the course of a year. And then my doctor suggested, you need to start exercising. And then I found out the more intense my exercises were, the less pain I was in.
Isn't that crazy?
So it was crazy. I joined Planet Fitness because
What?
$10 a month.
$10 a month.
You can't argue.
You
with
can't beat it.
$10 a
And they have
month.
tanning.
You say
yeah.
anything
And
you want
pizza.
about Planet Fitness.
Exactly.
They're cheap and wonderful.
And bagels.
And bagels.
At least
Pizza, bagels,
Yeah.
and tanning.
So I dropped my calories down to 1,200 calories a day.
Wow, that's almost
Yikes.
nothing.
That's like weight
Yes.
cutting.
That's
for
not
me.
even a slice of cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory. It starts
Hoi.
at 1,500 and up. So
And
1,200 is nothing. How do you operate? How do you even work out?
I couldn't sustain it.
Yeah,
Not
I can't imagine.
sustainable.
Especially when there was pizza at Planet Fitness. I mean,
Yeah.
you're just like, you're walking out the door and you see pizza and you're like, oh, pepperoni, let me grab a slice and walk out. And it wasn't
really have
sustainable for me.
Pizza at Planet.
Duh.
Yeah.
It's like
Is that
part
how
of
they
their
keep
thing.
them coming back?
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah. So, and Tootsie Rolls.
Holy moly.
I ate a bunch of those when
Yeah.
I went there one time.
Funny thing is I still have my membership, even though I haven't been, I only go when I travel.
$10 won't hurt you.
Makes sense
No,
because they're
yeah.
everywhere.
They are.
So your Planet Fitness, it's like probably not the best, maybe.
Right.
And then I'm assuming you're at the one here, right? Or were you at back home? still?
No, it was
where's
one
back
here.
home?
So
Where
back
you
home
starting
is
at?
Kentucky.
Okay.
So I was raised in Kentucky, but I was already living here.
So you're here in
So
LA.
you're here, you're at Planet Fitness, and then, because Planet Fitness, for those of you that don't know, is right around the corner from UFC Gym.
Yes.
Crazy.
In Torrance.
So,
So what
yeah.
happened then?
So actually, UFC wasn't on the horizon yet.
Oh, shit.
It was funny. I walked out to my car one day and there was a coupon, and major props to this company. There was a coupon for kickboxing, a kickboxing studio in Redondo Beach.
Wow.
And I freaked out. I'm like, there's no way. I'm still 340 pounds. There's no way I'm walking in doing kickboxing. But I've always liked martial arts. I
Kick
did.
the wall down. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do. What school was it? Shoot box?
I love kickboxing.
I love kickboxing. Yeah, they're a popular one. Got
They
it.
are. So I had done Taekwondo before my marriage over 10 years ago. Loved Taekwondo, competed in it. I got up a few ranks. I can't remember what belt color I ended at.
Still pretty cool. That's where you got
Yeah.
your start, right?
It was. And
it
I
stayed with you so
it
much
did.
that you wanted it back.
It did.
cool.
So learned, I decided to finally get the courage after like 4 months of stalking their Facebook page to see if there's anybody my size actually doing it. And I jumped in and did the class.
It's the hardest part, right?
It was the hardest part. Yeah.
That's why we gym crash. We want people to kind of dispel those myths as we go to these classes and actually see those regular folks, man. Guys that work 8 to 5 go train afterwards. It's not all pro
Yeah.
fighters. It's not all well-developed grapplers.
There's
who are
moms and
competing.
dads
It's
and-
everybody, right?
And there's
It's really
something
changed
about
the game.
hitting a bag that's therapeutic. I mean,
Absolutely.
Hitting anything is
Yeah.
therapeutic.
I always tell people that, like, if you're intimidated by it, just one time is all you need,
yes.
and you will fall in love.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, free gloves, so I didn't have to go buy new boxing gloves because my boxing gloves were back home. Jumping in unlimited classes, I jump in whenever I want. It worked out perfectly. So I was doing Planet Fitness and kickboxing daily. Like I would sometimes do 2 classes a day, and my stamina had gotten up to the point where I felt really good enough to do that and start getting comfortable with myself.
Nice.
Walked into Planet Fitness one morning and got made fun of in the locker room.
What?
It wasn't Planet Fitness's fault. It was some girl in the locker room in the shower just making fun of me. And so,
Did you give her some of that hi-ya that you learned? Hi-ya!
Oh, she's lucky I wasn't a part of the picture then.
so at that point, I had actually was working behind Planet Fitness. My office was right behind there, so I'd always walk to Walmart to get my lunch and then walk back. And so I kept passing UFC, and I'm like, I need to just go to that gym because I'm not going to Planet Fitness anymore. I'm not showing my face in here ever again. And I never did. I've never gone back.
You got bullied into going to UFC.
I did.
Best
I got bullied into
thing
it.
ever, though.
No, I think that's a lot of people's story.
Yeah.
That they're so tired of the way that people treat them that they want to better themselves. And what better place? I mean, Dana White's a genius for putting these places everywhere.
Yep.
We all
True.
see it. The marketing's there, right?
Yeah.
You see how they fight. Some people think that UFC is a type of fighting.
Yeah.
They don't realize it's, I fight UFC. I'm like, really?
You're like,
You
no,
do?
you don't.
I'm an MMA black belt. Is there such a thing?
There is.
Anyway, so you're feeling better, or actually feeling down. You go to UFC, but how's the fibromyalgia at this point? Where are you at?
Yeah.
Because you're exercising a lot now.
I'm actually feeling really good with myself. During this time, I lost 20 pounds.
That's a huge amount.
And so when I walked into UFC, I think I maybe was like 320 or something to that point. I'm feeling really good. I'm better. I had been having a lot of flare-ups, but those were getting under control. And then when the days I would have flare-ups, if I could convince myself to actually get out of bed and go work out, either go to kickboxing or something high intense, like take a treadmill and put it on a high incline and just walk it for 45 minutes.
So tough to do.
It is, but it's just, I would feel better. I could actually function the rest of the day without any pain. And a lot of the pain is kind of weird. And doing jiu-jitsu and having this kind of pain is weird in itself. It feels like a sunburn all over your body. So people touching you is just, it's not good. It doesn't feel good. And so when you have that, the more you work out, the more intense it is, the less that sunburn feeling is, and people can actually touch you again. So I can be hugged.
That's crazy, and that you go in there knowing that it's going to be severely uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's hard enough just to learn because you feel like you're drowning to begin with. Everyone chokes you. Everyone puts their body weight on you. Everyone out muscles you, techniques you.
She was at UFC, I remember, and she used to take Christoph's class and like the daily ultimate training. And I think he was the one that convinced you, right, to take my class. And he kind of, Christoph Szynski, he was the head of the MMA team there before he, he was like the director. So, and he pushed her to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Wow.
He actually convinced me to stay
Pretty
at
smart
UFC.
guy.
He doesn't know the story, but I
We
already
want to learn, though. Tell us the story. So you're at UFC.
I'm
and
at
he's pushing
UFC.
you?
So I actually have a coach at UFC. He's pretty awesome.
Okay.
Got a coach my very first day. They talked me into it. CJ is my coach. Started
Shout out
working.
to CJ over at Torrance.
He started working with me, got me to the point where I'd get more comfortable walking into UFC because I have social anxiety, and also have CPTSD and depression and regular
Wow.
anxiety on top of all this.
A lot to wake up and have to manage.
It is. So walking into UFC wasn't easy, and then to have CJ convince me to try classes out at UFC and stop going to kickboxing as much, and to be a little bit more diverse and actually pick up a pair of weights at the gym was hard for him, and it was really hard for me to even want to do it.
I can't even imagine. This is so outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
but you're pushing.
I am.
There's a character building, and there's a pattern of trying to get better. You know, it's really cool. So where do you go from there?
So CJ convinced me to try striking because I wanted to continue hitting things. It was a good stress reliever.
Yep.
So I got into the striking classes, fell in love with them. Christoph was the instructor, the coach at the time, and it was the first time I'd ever had a panic attack in class.
Wow.
And it was because the belly pads wouldn't fit around me. I was still too big. I was still 300 pounds. And I was prepared to walk out of the class, and he was like, no, I've got a belly pad that will fit you. And so he made me stay, and he went and got it, and he didn't raise a fuss. He didn't draw any attention
Make
to
it
it.
happen.
He was quiet and just went and handled it and came back. And I was able to participate in class.
Very cool.
And I, at that moment when he had walked away to go at the belly pad, I was trying to convince myself not to walk out of the bag room and just to stay. And it was really hard. And that was actually the first time I met Yoshiko.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yeah. Another gal from the jiu-jitsu team.
Very cool.
And so it was really, for that to happen, just made me, okay, I can handle being here. I can handle being at this gym.
Nice.
And this works
And
for
you're-
me.
And you're making lifelong friends.
And
with,
tell, like,
Yoshiko.
what did he tell you to come and do, like, jiu-jitsu? Like, what was his words?
So I was really interested. I'm very competitive, and I really love striking. And so we were talking about that and being competitive. And he was like, "Well, you like to powerlift too, but I think jiu-jitsu might be more your style. You need to give it a try." And he told me that about 3 months before I actually tried it.
Wise words. I love it.
So yes, and so he had pointed you out to me, and I was still freakishly scared of you for some strange reason.
It's 'cause she's a vicious woman.
No, I'd been
I'm
scared
the
of her.
nicest person ever.
She's a professional fighter. She's scary.
Well, and
She
then
has a mohawk.
I had
That's what
been
people like. They're like, oh, she is.
Tattoos, and I don't know what any of them mean.
yeah. So I had actually seen her before I joined UFC.
Yeah?
So every
Oh,
time I'd
shit.
walk past UFC, she every now and then the coaches, I'd see them walking in and out, and I'd see her. I saw her several times walking in and out, and so I saw her while she was pregnant with Talia,
Wow.
and then
snap.
I think I saw you right after you had her too, and so she had her pink mohawk, and I'm like, the mohawk is really cool. The tattoos are amazing.
Yeah.
But she scares me. I'm going to hurry past and go to Walmart and get my lunch.
It's because she grew up in New Mexico and she dirty looks at everyone.
I give peños, man.
She walks around with her lokes on, staring down at you. The Raiders hat on.
Yep.
So Christoph pointed her out to me and said, go meet Maria. She teaches the women's. I think you'd do well in the women's class. And it took me, I think, 1 or 2 months before I actually would attend one of Maria's classes, which was Halloween night, and she was dressed up as Catwoman, I think.
No, I
Something.
was Edward Scissorhands.
You were Edwina Scissorhands.
Yes.
Yes.
So I had the makeup on and the wig, and like I had the
Yeah.
gloves that had scissors on them.
I can picture it. It's kind of cool.
I was
was-
teaching jujitsu class like that.
Oh, with scissors on your hands. Freddy Krueger style.
Tried out her Matrix class. It was, I think,
Oh, right,
that day.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
Matrix.
What is
And-
Matrix? I don't even know. It's a movie.
Matrix is a combination of TRX and like Fight Fit
Okay.
class. So
Cool.
it's a combination of that.
Yeah, so you're doing TRX moves with your hands wrapped up, which is
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
fun.
You're
Got
punching the
it.
bag, the heavy bag, the ground pound bag, and then doing TRX strength and conditioning. stuff
That's
as
good,
well.
good. So it's fight preparation too, kind of, right? That you're ready and making motions that you're going to make in
Yeah.
the fight.
Yeah,
Okay, that's very cool.
yeah.
That's a nice place to start as you transition into even a deeper martial art such as jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what a ground pound bag was until Matrix.
Yeah.
Until I met her, I was like, "What is this thing?" And she's like, "Oh, it's a ground and pound bag." And
It's my boyfriend.
I'm like, so I text CJ later and I said, "I think what we did was this, and I think that's called a ground and pound bag." And he responded back, he's like, "Yep,
Or a grappling dummy,
Cool.
same kind of thing.
yeah."
Yes.
So
Got it.
learned a lot during that time. So my friend Yoshiko and I were like, let's go try jiu-jitsu. And so we talked each other into going. It was on Monday. I think
Yeah.
you were covering for somebody at 5 o'clock, and we knew you were going to 6 o'clock women's. Then we were like, we'll follow her. We'll go to jiu-jitsu. So we did. We jumped in. It was, I think, the weekend after Christmas.
Wow. Going right into your
And
new
she
year.
never looked back, and
I
is
never looked
still
back,
training.
no.
So I have to know. So you're making all these steps, and there's definitely bumps in the road. There's this a-hole at Planet Fitness that gets you over to UFC. Things like that are a major setback, and they can definitely halt someone's growth.
Yeah.
And it does happen. People do give up. Not Christie. Christie's pushing for it. Christie's learning new things. I'm going to try some more new, but not give up. That's so smart.
Yeah.
Somebody else would go home, lay in bed, and let the symptoms take over. But you say, no, I'm going to go to UFC where I'm going to try something different. And there's all these diverse learning possibilities with great coaches and intimidating people with mohawks and tattoos that wind up to be, great people that are so supportive, and they become like family.
Yes.
So you mentioned Yoshiko. Obviously, we have Maria. You're putting together this external family that's, here in California. You're from Kentucky. So now it all starts coming together, and it's forming, and
Yeah.
it helps support who you are. And it sounds like you're managing fibromyalgia in a much better, more sensible way than taking drugs and running from it, which,
Yeah.
in my opinion, are people that just take drugs. I admit it's a battle that I haven't taken, so I'm not judging,
Yeah.
but for you to take it on head on in a more holistic fashion with exercise, with martial arts, with the drive to get on a treadmill and go uphill on mornings when you don't even want to get out of bed.
I have
don't
a
want to get on a
secret.
treadmill right now. I've been up all day.
I have a secret for that.
Yeah, tell me.
It's an iPad with yesterday's TV shows that you missed because you're already at the gym.
See, I can't do it. I gotta have music, and it has to be really good, loud music. And
Right,
and
that's how I
driving.
am.
I prefer Miguel send me something from Integrity or somebody that pumps, because once it's in me, then I'm going. That's my thing. Like,
Yeah.
I need it. But just good to hear what drives you, because there's other people out there that need to know this. And
Yeah.
gosh, so many things that you've kind of just bulldozed through to get you where you are now. So you start learning jiu-jitsu from Maria. Is that your first jiu-jitsu class?
It was. No, I think I'd gone to one just to try it out,
Yeah.
but I don't remember anything about that class. I have a video of it. I just don't remember
You
it.
got a lot of things going on, so I don't remember a lot of things too. So you meet Maria, and how did you feel about it when you were in class with her? Was it different because she was a young lady teaching it? What was it?
I think I felt really comfortable because the way Maria teaches is if you don't get it the first time, she's going to explain it 3 different ways, and
Yeah.
you're going to get one of the ways she explains it. And so I think I caught on pretty quickly with how she explained it, and I fell in love with it pretty quickly because I could see it's for me, and we'll probably get into this a little bit later, being able to see results from what I'm doing pretty quickly helps reinforce this is something that you shouldn't quit at.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even if you don't see the results as quickly, you still see one little piece or 2 little pieces of it that keep pushing you forward. And it might not, I mean, you're not going to lose 50 pounds in a day, but seeing you lose that 1 pound or getting better at something, that's going to help. And so I think with jiu-jitsu, it was like almost instant gratification because every day that I learned something when we were learning a technique, I was able to use that day when we would row live. So being able to put 2 and 2 together quickly, it was good. And then having the support of teammates who really cared about you learning,
Yeah,
that was
that's cool.
another thing. It's like the what's that
Camaraderie.
word? Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a family atmosphere.
It is.
Yeah.
It should be, and it should develop into that. And most, not every place has it. So
No.
if you find your way to that, then you found something special.
Yeah.
The guys I've trained with and the guys that I do our show with and spend my time with outside of here, and the ladies that we've grown and become a part of us, I can only imagine how that made you feel. So you're ready to move forward. Other than that, you find obstacles that make you want to quit, right?
Yeah.
And it's those people that keep pushing forward with you.
Yes.
So very cool.
Yeah, she was picked up. Like I know, like you're an instructor, so you see some people that like they don't have coordination, or they're not very aware of like their body movements or like their space awareness. They're just not like they don't get it. Like you physically have to maybe like touch them. This hand here moves this here, and even then sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand. But for Christie, like, it wasn't. It was like maybe she didn't get it like the first time because I didn't explain it in a way where she like absorbed it, but then after that it would be like easy.
I love that.
And yeah, and what I remember always being is like during the warm-ups in the beginning, of course they were difficult, but it's not like she like quit because they were difficult. It was like, I'm gonna
Awesome.
like even some of the stuff I'm pretty sure you modified just the way that you did the movement. That way you could build up to actually doing the movement the way it's supposed to be done, which is really cool because a lot of the time you see people and they're kind of like, I don't want to do that because I can't. And it's like, of course you can. It's the first time you've ever done this before.
They're not even trying. Yeah.
They're not even trying. So it was really like, I admire that in people, especially her.
Yeah. She has
Because-
questions too. She's amazing.
Yeah, like because even people that were smaller or whatever, maybe a little bit more athletic, like they had some sort of complaint about it, and it's like, dude, and then here's Christy, and she's just like, I'm gonna get it right, and it may take me a
Smart.
second to do it, but I'm gonna do it the right way, and that was like something that stood out to me.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is for everyone. If you can't do something, you learn to do it your way.
Exactly.
is what matters.
You find what works for you. I mean, not everybody's going to be good, spider guard.
Yeah. Triangles aren't my go-to. I got short limbs. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get a triangle on the right person.
And it's like, and one cool thing that, as she's training and she's getting better and better, she's rolling harder. You can see when your students stuff starts to make sense to them.
It becomes their game.
Yeah, and there were certain things that I noticed about her that she would have panic attacks, especially when somebody took her back or certain things like that. And I'm trying to push her to do certain things, and then after I found out she was suffering with the PTSD and things like that, and
it's a lot, man.
What I want her to kind of mention is she never quit. These were things that stuff from her past, but they made her panic in a way where it was severe, in this situation.
I fully understand,
and she worked through it, and now it's it's overcoming a huge hurdle that has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu's what helped her, is helping her get through it, which is really cool.
It's a problem-solving art in that somebody puts you in a position or into a submission, and you need to counter and then put them into or escape or whatever it may be, find a better position yourself. And it relates to life in that we don't know what's coming, but we do have to adjust and maneuver and better position ourselves.
Yeah. Just kind of working through things that maybe certain things emotionally they're triggers or whatever, and you're oh shit, I had no idea. But what I was saying is her ability to work through it. Yeah. Which is cool, because I tell her you should share at least that little bit, because then other people might fall in love with the sport too.
It may pull them from whatever deep, dark place that they're at. Yeah. Because there are better places to be. Being alone is not a good place. No. So one thing about jiu-jitsu is you need a team to do it with. So
you do.
Right? And that pulls you out of that dark place too, because that becomes the people that you spend your time with. Yeah. Versus grappling with things going on inside and in your head and your emotions and everything else. So yeah, that's a huge testimony for jiu-jitsu and for just being active. Yeah. And started with bike riding. Even though she broke her knee, she got back up. Yeah. I admire you for doing that.
What was it that just, because there's a lot of people that just are it's their want to, keep getting back up doesn't happen. No. And you did. So that goes back into my childhood and things there. So just kind of a brief synopsis. Grew up in a very abusive home. One of my social worker, when she pulled us out, she was like, your case is the worst I've ever heard of. Just things that we were going through. One of my earliest memories is being raped and having my face covered and someone on top of me. And that's one of my earliest memories. And that's not something I mention very often, but it's a reoccurring nightmare that I continue to have, and have discovered that was actually a memory that I had covered up for many years. It wasn't until jiu-jitsu and my therapist and I working through all of that everything came back to my memory. Wow. But going through that as a child, and then and the person who raped me wasn't a parent, it was actually another family member. And so, and then my stepmother was very abusive to us growing up, mentally, emotionally, physically. Cigarette burns on me. The school would, probably about once every month, someone at the school would check us for new bruises or new cuts or burns and things like that.
But no prosecution? They just check?
No.
That's odd.
My dad was very convincing to social services, and my stepmother was very convincing to social services. And at 15, all of this stuff had been going on. I was being made fun of and bullied at school. My stepmother would always tell me, you're never going to be strong. No one ever wants you. You're not loved. All of this stuff going on.
You're wrong, bitch.
Yeah, that's gnarly to tell a 15-year-old that. I don't understand that, but.
Yeah. So at 15, I finally had the courage to tell somebody what was really going on. Just I was done. I was tired. I was exhausted. I had brothers and sisters at this point. I was their soul. I would take care of them. We lived in the backwoods of Kentucky, and my stepmother would lock us out of the house, and we would have to fend for ourselves all day long.
Wow.
Things like that, and no running water at times, no electricity, different things like that was going on. And I was done. Like, growing up in that for a long time, I thought that was normal, that other kids were going through the exact same thing.
It's all you know, so you assume that is the world, right? That's your only worldview. So,
and so, I went to my pastor at the time, who, interesting enough, was my stepmother's uncle. Told him what was going on. He helped me take steps that I needed to work with social services, take my parents or my dad and stepmother to court, finally get out of that. But at that point, I mean, I'd lived for 15 years with my body under constant stress. So my cortisol levels were super high for 15 years, just fight or flight mode, which is what caused the CPTSD.
Yeah, you can never rest, right? You
No.
don't even know what rest is.
No. And that's why my body turned on me, but also that's what causes my panic attack. So whenever I'm in a mount position or somebody has my face covered, another memory I have is someone grabbing me from back and holding their hand over my face where I couldn't breathe. So for a long time, I had problems when people would take my back in jiu-jitsu. That actually is cleared up. People can take my back and I don't panic anymore. But mount and having my face covered are huge. I can't swim with my face in the water because of that. It bothers me. So jiu-jitsu's actually helped take my panic attacks from 30 minutes, 2 hours long, down to 5 minutes. I can usually get through a panic attack pretty quickly now, just because I'm learning how to breathe, how to control my body,
So
how
cool.
to control and know that I'm okay and I'm all right. Like, Maria's yelled at me several times in the middle of a panic attack just to breathe.
Well, like once we kind of like, I knew it stemmed from something else other than somebody like, you know, the art of jujitsu, right? Like somebody actually choking you or whatever. I would see her going in like you can like identify the stress level in somebody, and I'd be like, "You're good. Like you're in a safe place. Like we're good.
Yeah, you're here.
Breathe through it." You know, and like she would.
It's hard to be in the
eventually-
moment when
yeah.
those things are running through you.
Yeah. But it's crazy because the sport of jiu-jitsu, like I can't speak for her, but I'm like, I think like, I don't know if you would have had that, you know, remedied as well as you've had it remedied with any other sport, because it's just like, what other sport would put you in a strangling situation like that where you're like, I don't think any.
It's pretty direct to the things that you've experienced, that's for sure. Just amazing that you've gone through all that, and you're such a nice person. Some people would be bitter, and some people repeat the behavior. I hear a lot too.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you're very cool and very level-headed, and unique to jiu-jitsu, man. This girl competes.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm out there just covering, doing my interviews, and I run into my friend Christie competing, and not once, but it's been like 3-4 times now.
She has like 4 or 5 gold medals. How many gold medals do you have?
5 gold medals over the last year and a half.
And silver.
6 silver.
Damn.
Yeah, that's not only a physical commitment and the drive to learn, but she's actually spending money. I mean, she has to survive too. It's not a cheap place to live. Southern California compared to Kentucky, I mean, that's a huge cost difference in survival. And then you're really investing in yourself is what it comes down to. So each time that you do compete, I mean, you're going to come out stronger, better, and you've proven that. But it's not cheap, man. So you've really made those right decisions. That investing in yourself, the payoffs are amazing. The dividends in it for investing in yourself are unimaginable.
And the reason why is, one, being told you're not strong enough, being told you're not good enough. I remember that being said to me a lot, and nobody wants you, you're not worth it. Made me want to fight, to prove to myself that I am strong. I mean, the first time I deadlifted 100 pounds, I was embarrassed because I'm like, I can't lift it. And then now I'm deadlifting almost 300 pounds.
Whew.
And
bench presses more than most dudes, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Pretty cool.
She bench presses more than most guys.
Yeah, I believe it.
Can I just say one thing? Because we've been to the gym together lifting, and like, she'll be like doing like some sort of, I think we were doing legs, but we were doing some sort of lift, and she was I think deadlifts, or we were doing sumo deadlifts or front squats or something. And so like these dudes are like watching her because they're like, she's like moving weight like way more than they do,
Just a
and they're
murderer
just like,
at the
"What?"
weights. I
Like,
love
yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's crazy because like when you go to the doctors and they want to always prescribe you some sort of like a drug to
Immediately.
remedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like through physical activity, I mean, you've overcome so much health issues. Through jujitsu, you've overcome health issues, emotional blocks and stuff like that. It's like, man, and
They're
all
gonna
this stuff,
poison you. They were
Yeah.
going to poison you.
it's like 20 billion times cheaper than all the medication you'd probably have to spend every, 2
Just to
weeks or
maintain,
3.
right?
Yeah, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
and
so ass
You
backwards.
got to do the monthly insurance, and then everything else that you purchase on top of that, including the regular visits. You have to have a job just
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a year in the last 3 years that I didn't meet my deductible by October.
Wow.
Just from
And this is a
everything.
person that wants to live clean.
Yeah. And I still, I mean, I do take a few meds, but they're minor. They're one is it's like a birth control, and then something like that.
Yeah.
So there's something minor that I researched the hell out of, and made sure here's what the side effects are. Do I understand what it's going to do to my body? This whole entire process is, what is my body capable of doing? What can I make my body do? And how can I make my body work for what I need it to do? So losing that first 100 pounds, just going from 340 down to 240 and seeing what my body was
That's a huge
capable
amount.
of.
You lost the whole person.
I did. That gave me insight to what am I really capable of? And from there it was, okay, I can do whatever the hell I want because I know what I'm capable of. Like, I have some setbacks. I can't do double leg takedowns. I can't do, what is it, that warm up that we do that's similar to that? I can't.
The drop steps, or
Possibly. Because I can't do it on my knee.
Hey, you can blow your knees out. I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of it. I do it, but
No.
I'm not. There's certain things we do repetitively, and it does lead to injury. So we get wise and we do other things.
Yeah.
But you can identify it, you can stuff it, and nobody's going to double leg you if you know exactly what it is. So
Exactly. And people have attempted to double leg me several times. Instead of learning how to double leg, I learned how to counter double legs.
Sure.
And
How
I
to
love
sprawl.
doing it. So, but yeah, it's things like that. You learn, you pick up, and you say, here's what I'm capable of doing. What is it going to take to get me there? And you were talking about finances earlier.
that's a tough one, man.
It is.
It defeats a person before they can even get started sometimes.
So you want to hear a secret?
I want to know the secret. You hit the lotto?
No.
I'll work for you. I'll mow the lawn, whatever. I'll do the pool.
So this is I'm going to say this, but this is the first time I'm admitting it in public because only a handful of people know this. Maria knows it. Maria's known for over a year. 2 years ago, when I realized I had to get serious about my health and my fitness, I decided to go homeless and live out of my Jeep for 2 years.
That's a real steep commitment.
but
It was.
why she did it, when she tells you, it will make sense.
Well, then
So-
let her finish. 'Cause I'm intrigued. I'm blown
Yeah.
away. You went homeless 2 years.
2 years. I've been up until, what was it? March?
Yeah.
Okay. So for 2 years, actually March to March, my birthday weekend 2 years ago, I decided to live out of my Jeep or house sit for people or whatever I needed to do, just to take that money that I was spending on rent. And my job didn't pay that well at the time.
That's a huge amount of money for rent. You're looking
Yeah.
at $1,500 and up
Yes.
for a 1-bedroom.
So took the money that I needed for rent and started investing in myself, investing in what I needed to do to get healthy. So whether it was
cool.
food, whether it was working out, having a good coach to back me up, having a couple of coaches to back me up at certain points of the game, doing things like that. Even, and some people might call this frivolous, but even paying for the competitions, because competitions to me were important. Those were the reasons why I decided to live out of my Jeep, because it just made more sense. Let me invest in myself rather than spending $900 to $1,200 dollars a month on rent plus utilities on top of that, and
Yeah.
having to worry about that. When by the time I get up in the morning, it's 4:30. I'm going to the gym. I go to work. I'm working anywhere from 8 to 16 hours a day at my job previously, to another 2 to 4 hours in the gym that night.
Wow.
I'm not getting home until 9, 10 o'clock at night.
You and me both.
It was just
sister.
easier to do
To
this.
go in the Jeep. Yeah.
So, Jeep, friends' houses. I'd house sit for a lot of people. I still house sit for people just because these are people who I love and respect and
Yeah.
love their animals.
If you got a good source of support, it really isn't homelessness.
No.
You know what I mean? There's people that are homeless who are sleeping on the sidewalk. So when you say homeless, I respect the fact that you've given up your surroundings that you pay for on a normal basis, but you were smart enough to at least know you could do it, and that you had the resources to, get a shower, I'm sure, eat a hot meal here and there, and, make
Yeah.
things happen.
Well, she was like meal prepping at work and like
I
love
they were
it.
doing.
So all those things
Keeping her
make
stuff-
it manageable.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a interesting fact that someone may call your competition frivolous. It's not
Yeah.
frivolous. It's, I think, a key component to the success that you've had in overcoming anxiety, pain, social inhibition.
Yeah.
Your ability to interact with other people. You're sitting in front of a camera right now. Difficult just to talk about everyday life, and you're talking about some pretty deep things and revealed some things that gosh, I never expected to even hear. I commend you for that, and I really believe that if you're able to speak things and confront them, that also helps you get past that. So I think you know this because you're there,
Yeah.
and you're ready to help others. And I'm sure you guys discussed this. That's what it's all about.
Of course.
Yeah.
Super huge accomplishments, and nothing frivolous in what you said. You gave up your. I love laying in the bed and watch TV, so you gave that up so that you could do things better, right?
Ah,
Ain't
well,
nothing
she
better than laying in your bed watching TV.
Wanted to like take care of herself without,
Yeah.
like she said, invest in her. Your health is an investment.
Well, here's
like,
the question.
bottom line, like
Yeah.
it is. Like you have to think of it like the best investment you could ever invest in is you, because
Yeah.
there's only one chance you get, and if you fuck it up, that's it. Like you don't get another
Without
chance.
health, there is no wealth.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could have $10 million, but if you can't spend it because you can't
I
breathe,
mean,
you ain't
look
got
at
nothing.
these millionaires that are like, unfortunately, like our home slice Bourdain and Kate Spade, like
Yeah.
these people have
Yeah.
tons of money. Like it doesn't mean shit. Like if you're not taking care of this and this, like,
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe when you bring up Anthony Bourdain because he was kind of involved in things that help you get
Yeah.
past that. But we only know what we hear. We can only
Exactly.
speculate, right? So I hope that we one day know the truth behind that story
Yeah.
because he was a jiu-jitsu practitioner
And you're still,
and super successful, right?
Yeah, and I love to show it. It was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew he
Sad.
was a jiu-jitsu practitioner until he died. But I'd always loved and watched his show and really respected who he was. But I know for me, I still hit depression really bad, and I still hit those days where I do want to give up. I've hit it probably 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months alone, just where things start closing in and you just feel like the whole world is against you and you're not sure what to do. I don't reach out to people when I hit it. I mean, Maria knows she's seen me in the middle of one, but I'm not going to tell her I'm depressed or that I'm dealing with issues. I mean, she just figured it out on her own.
Yeah, that's smart.
But
You're her
it's-
friend, so she can see certain things and changes.
Yeah. Poor her being my friend.
Yeah. That's
For
all
you.
Yeah, she's tough.
She is tough.
It's been hard to know her.
I think I'm privileged, so
No, I think you're both
I'm the one
wonderful
that's
people.
blessed.
Yeah, you guys are awesome, so I'm glad to know you both. I mean, glad to have her a part of my show. I don't know for how long this will be, but our relationship will continue to grow regardless, and with you as well, because, we're in the same circles. It's still
Yeah.
going to be the jiu-jitsu circle, the fight circle, and all that. But getting back to fibromyalgia, because it is such an epidemic. I see it on TV. I never knew what it was. They have that interesting portrayal. It's like an animated nerve
Yeah.
map where it's inflamed and turning red and just scares the pants
Yeah.
off you. You're like, what in the hell is that? And how do I not get that? You know?
It's hard. I mean, you need to. Fibromyalgia is one of those things that they don't know fully what causes it in every person, and the symptoms can either be the same or different. I'm very fortunate. I've met several people with fibromyalgia, and half of them don't even have the same symptoms I do, or don't even have the same stressors that or triggers that cause the issues. And then 2 people that I know, one who's related to me and one who's not, exact same symptoms. There's certain foods that trigger it within me. They have the same food
Wow.
sensitivities.
So it can be dietary.
So it can be dietary. For me, it's a dual of dietary. So I can't have things like, I can't eat anything with chili in it, any kind of pepper or anything like that, or any tomatoes.
I would die.
Yeah.
Yes, most people would. And so I found that the hormone medication like birth control actually helps that for me.
Oh, wow.
So, and then the more I work out, the less the symptoms are. So, but also the other thing is the cortisol levels. We know that high stress environment situations for me can make me flare up a little bit more. And then you have trigger points all over your bodies that causes even more pain. So like right now I'm in a little bit of pain, and it just happens. It's normal. I mean, there's very few days that go by where I'm not not having a pain level of a 3 or something like that.
Jeez.
So it's
And
just
that's
watching
every
that.
day. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, so where are you with that? So it's manageable, but still gets to at least a 3. Mm-hmm. And that's a regular day.
That's a regular day. A few times, coming out of competition, I always know that the days after a competition, like the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to be at like a pain level 6 or 7, and having people touch me is going to be rough. I still try to power through it, but and that's because competitions are high stress environments.
Sure.
So your blood's rushing, your adrenaline's up, your cortisol levels are up. You're going to be high stress. But then there are days where, like right now, I'm in this major rest period because partially injured again, and I've got to take some time off where my cortisol levels, as far as workouts, aren't very high, but other stress there. Yeah. So my levels
Other
around
stresses.
3 to 4.
Yeah. Life gives you stress from every angle, from work, you know, your situation that you've taken on with, living where you need to live, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you manage a lot. So I'm kind of amazed. What injury are you suffering from right now?
So I have Achilles tendonitis, and plus I twisted my knee. I competed with the Achilles tendonitis, and then I twisted my knee in my last fight 2 weeks ago at LA Open, and so that's still bothering me a little bit.
Yeah, those linger for a little while, but the tendonitis with the Achilles, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That if I used to think it was kind of a joke. Somebody would say, "Oh, my Achilles hurt," and I'm like, you could beat me up, 10 different ways. I've never even felt an Achilles. So until you feel it, you don't know how bad it can be. When you feel it, you're like, oh my God, that's what they were complaining about. Now you know. So it's one of those things. And it doesn't become real until you know. And it can be debilitating. You can't walk.
And for me, every morning when I get up, it's like, okay, I got to remember how to walk because the pain's so great that you can't walk.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I can't do my normal activities, so I can't run on a treadmill. I can't do stair stepper, which I hate anyways. So I'm kind of glad about that one. Hey, they created those to be torture devices.
They are torture, right?
You can't convince me otherwise. So I can't do things like that. So basically, all I can do is swim. And putting my face in the water gives me anxiety attack because my face is covered.
Oh, wow.
So I'm having fun working on trying to come out to work around that issue. So swimming is basically my only cardio right now.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's something you need to tackle because it does, it, like Maria had said so many times before, that with things that you've encountered, that bugs you, so just do it.
Yes.
That's your attitude. And I recommend it to anyone. If that's what your fear is, face it, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Immerse yourself in it. However, the panic attacks that are associated with that are so overwhelming. We can only say face your fear and things will get better. There's a spot in the middle.
A chip at a time. Like, you can't expect to overcome it all at one time through,
Yeah.
It'll probably take you several times. It's just like learning a technique in jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're not going to master it until you do it a fucking 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, unless you practice your mental, overcoming your mental blocks, you're not going to get it. And that's why, I think it's cool that, she shares her story too, because it's like it's not like she got to this point and then she's like sitting pretty and like all rainbows and sunshine. Like, no, she has her days where like shit's hitting the fan and like the walls are coming down, but it's like you have to just continue to chip at it and say, okay, it's not perfect. She works through those days. Some days are better than others, just like anybody else, we all battle our own stuff, and some days it's all hell and some days it's like a lot better, but you just, you keep going forward with
Yeah.
it, and you're able to like, the thing is like showing people like, hey, it's gonna be okay. Like you might have that for 1 or 2 days, but after that, like we'll get back on track.
Yes.
You're very unique, and your story is probably one of the hardest stories I've heard. But you're very normal. Everybody's got their stuff, man. But what this brings attention to is that it isn't just the pro fighter that goes and trains jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing and wrestling. It isn't just the 9-to-5er who wants to get in shape after work. It isn't just the single mom who wants to look good in her bikini. But there are people with battles that are inside of them that they need to overcome. And that's everybody. Everybody's got something. Some kind of insecurity, some kind of inhibition, some bully that's picking on someone, whatever it may be. And it might be all of those things.
Yeah.
All combined at once. And then, you face it, because fighting is just that. You fight through things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering why people train, I get asked that all the time. Like, dude, you're getting there. You're gray in the hair. You're not walking straight up as you used to, and you're putting on this and that, a little weight here and there. I'm like, why do you keep going to train? Is what they ask me. Well, it's part of my lifestyle now. So
Yeah.
beyond that, I have to do it. The people I love and want to spend my time with mostly train. And I train with them, and that's the way I get to see them. The other part is that, you may develop things later on. If you think you're a solid person, it's just in your head, but you're going to get things as you grow and as you progress in life. And to overcome those things, much the way Christie has, is to face them head on and to be involved and to be as active as you've been, even with these ailments, is a testimony to how much fighting can actually assist in the character building and the growth process
Right.
of a human being.
Like get you out of the black hole that you've been without, you really even like attempting to do that. Like you weren't conscious of like, today I'm going to overcome this when I go to jiu-jitsu practice.
Yeah, you may not be aware of it.
You were caught by a surprise and you're like, holy shit, this is causing this to happen, and how am I going to work through this? And that can happen to anyone, whatever the situation is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like whatever it is. And then eventually
Absolutely.
it becomes something that like you show up and you're like,
This is who I
fuck
am.
yeah, I'm gonna freaking knock this one out of the park today and
Yeah.
put myself in a bad situation and not freak out.
Swim in the deep end and it won't
yeah.
matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
You throw yourself there.
Yeah. I'm going to start out in the deep end.
Yep.
And
For a
there's-
month.
Yeah. And there's something to remember on this too is one thing to really note is there are days where I'm super gung-ho about overcoming whatever it is that I'm going to face that day. I know I'm going to face something. I always do. I face something every time I get on the mats. Every class I'm in, sometimes it doesn't look like it because I'm standing at the wall and I'm working through that social anxiety of getting the courage to ask somebody to roll with me, or I'm actually rolling with somebody and they put me in position not knowing it, that's throwing me into a panic attack. But the other thing to remember is know yourself well enough to know when is it time to go forward full blast and continue pushing yourself, or when is it time to take a step back and, okay, let's breathe. And through that, you're going to realize, where am I at with my body today? Where am I at with my emotion and my mind? So what is it that's going to enable me to go further and not break me down? So for instance, Silver State International competition, first weekend in May, I think it was. I had to go to Vegas for a work thing, and I ended up competing there just because I was going to be there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. So I decided to do my weight class and then do open right after that, which was, I think, 2 or 3 hour in between. And I had a major panic attack on the mats. The girl who I was competing against, she was good. She covered my face and I couldn't get out of it. And she was probably 100 pounds less than me. She had just moved up to my weight bracket so she could have a fight, which
Sure.
happens, And then I went outside and I cried. And I was just in tears not because I'd lost and I was okay with losing because I had learned something from that, but because I had a panic attack in a public place. I didn't have anybody with me. And I wasn't sure what I was capable of doing that rest of the day because I still had to deal open. And then having to put myself and think about, okay, here's where I'm at right now. Here's what I'm capable of. Am I able to move forward? Am I able to walk forward? And can my next fight be okay? Will I be able to survive through it? Can I get over this panic attack in time? ended up still in the middle of the panic attack and deciding to move forward, had the best roll of my life at any competition. And this girl was a super featherweight in open.
Wow.
And
so very opposite, you know, that
very
people are just
opposite.
going for it.
Yes. And she was good, technically, very good. But I walked up and like we said hi to each other like you do.
Yeah.
We walked on the mat and the ref said, "Have fun, girls. This should just be fun."
That's
and
a cool ref.
And I've had this ref several times at other competitions, and so I've always respected him and liked him. I actually had him again this last one.
That's awesome.
But we actually laughed in the middle of the competition. I ended up beating her with a submission, but we had fun, and we actually became friends afterwards when we've seen each other around, because even though we were in Vegas, we were both from South Bay. So it was kind of cool, but
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
you're still overcoming those social inhibitions that you might have had, you know, things that you don't normally do, but you're pushing.
yes,
So your exterior family, that family that you built in California is still growing.
it is.
That's pretty cool.
I think about, I would say, 60% of everyone I've ever competed against, I've become good friends with.
Absolutely.
So
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I think through the jiu-jitsu world, like you can connect with, like, you can make friends anywhere because there's academies everywhere.
That's for sure.
It's like I could go to, you know, across the country to Maine, and I have an academy and tons of people that they're essentially like a family to you. And then here, and then in New Mexico, it's like,
Yeah.
and those people, like, they've trained at other places, and so they all, like, it networks, it like connects you with so many people. And if you've noticed, like, people that, like, usually when they find out you train and they also train, it's an immediate connection, and they're cool with you automatically because you train jiu-jitsu or whatever, or fighter,
Yeah.
or whatever you are. You're in the realm of, like, that mixed martial arts world, and it's an automatic friendship. It's like it doesn't matter, like, you'll be invited somewhere, you know, if you went to go visit or whatever. And usually
You can always sleep in the dojo. It's what I
Yeah,
always
and
get them on. No,
usually,
it's cool,
like-
man. I can find my own place.
like, usually after competitions, you'll make friends with, like, the opponents. Oh,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
like,
People want to go party afterwards.
even if you got, like, totally smashed, and then afterwards you're like, damn, that chick was
Yeah.
good, and you friend her on Facebook, and then you have a connection, you guys talk or whatever, and
then
you
we
have
train
some-
together.
Yeah, and now you train together.
Yeah.
It's like,
Even when we bring people in here, I often say, let's roll. Let's make sure we get
Yeah.
something in, right? We got to have that exchange. So it's
it's
people
just
that we interview too.
an
So
awesome
Yeah.
networking thing. And,
absolutely,
And
it's what you do. So might
Yeah.
as well share it, right?
Yes.
sharing it is big, especially your experiences through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unique.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people who I'm sure have their unique stories that, you know, they just aren't as, they're maybe afraid or something that holds them back. So it's good to, like, show people it's okay to be freaking scared shitless and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. I think that is the definition of courage. We all have fear. It's just facing that fear that makes you brave or courageous.
Yeah.
It's almost like sharing your story is almost like holding someone's hand into, like, sharing theirs or
Yeah.
overcoming their
Yeah,
issues
that's a
or
fact.
problems or something. It's like, not physically, obviously, but, like, you extended, like, a situation where maybe someone's experiencing something similar, and they're like, okay, I'm going to try what she did, and that could totally, like it did you, change your life completely.
Yeah.
And now she's obsessed with jiu-jitsu. She just got her blue belt, BT dubs.
Congratulations.
And, like, your journey is just beginning.
Who gave you the blue belt?
Coach Alex from UFC
Okay.
had to test for it. That was the most nerve-wracking
So they
experience.
do test there. I didn't know if they
Yes.
test. So tell me about your test.
So there was a lot of different things you had to do to test. He invites you to test when he feels that you're ready, and they do testing twice a year. So he handed me this piece of paper, handed a bunch of us in class a piece of paper, and makes a big ceremony out of it, which kind of is embarrassing to me because I have to get in front of people.
But to everybody involved, it's like that graduation day,
It
right?
does,
You're
yeah.
moving up. You're not just a white belt anymore. You've spent your time. You've learned.
Yes. So you have to test, like, I don't remember everything that was on the test, but like 4 takedowns, and he didn't name the 4 that you had to do, so you could pick any 4.
That's nice.
There's several things he named, and I'm like, I don't know what this name is. In fact, I think I came home and said to you, what is this one? Which one was this?
Well, you're so lucky you have the encyclopedia
I
of these
know.
things at home.
I do.
So you knew kind of what they were before you got tested, so you could
Yes.
prepare. Oh, that's
Yes,
good.
so
So it
you-
wasn't a blind test.
No, you had like a week or 2 weeks to prepare. And so it was right after the competition, right after I'd injured myself, still dealing with the Achilles tendon issue and still dealing with the Achilles tendon issue, but having to work through the pain, and then having wrenched my knee in the competition didn't help either. So I was nervous, like so nervous about taking the test. And he gives you so many tries before he moves on to the next one, and I don't think I had to try very many over. I think he gives you like 3 tries before he's like, okay, let's go to the next one. And I think I only had to try a couple of moves once.
Nailed it.
Maybe twice, yeah.
She
So
nailed
in other
it.
words, it all made perfect sense.
It did, and that was when things actually clicked with me. It was like, oh, I should have been doing this to get out of the mount, out of somebody being
Yeah.
in my mouth. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I've been taught this. Why hasn't it clicked until now? But,
Sometimes
things
it
like
doesn't
that.
happen right away, and then things open up later on.
Yes.
That's part of the journey, because you revisit a lot of those things. So you go to class, and you may not have touched whatever that subject is for 6 months, but it will make sense that time
Yeah.
you get it. That's what I love about it,
Yep.
right? Because the curriculum's different.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody teaches within a system. Some people are very, I wouldn't say all over the place, but whatever is important to them, they get to.
Yeah.
That may not be what's important to you on that day or
Yeah.
in that month. But when you get to those things that do change your game, it's an amazing light bulb that goes off, and you're able to roll in a different way.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I love that does happen
Yes.
in jiu-jitsu.
And it was a very enlightening process. And then it was even more nerve-wracking because you had to wait a week to find out if you'd passed the test. So,
Oh, wow. He doesn't even tell you right away?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, that's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I've never heard of such a thing. They make you, do they go back and review video? How do they determine?
no, I think it's a point system. I'm not
Okay.
too sure the entire process of how it works.
It is. I think,
Yeah.
because I'm sure it's similar to the way that the kids are tested. And you have a sheet that basically, like, X, Y, and Z techniques are on them. And I believe it's 1 through 5. And if she performed it like crap, you circle the 1.
Right on.
If she did it really
is what
well,
it
you
is. At
circle
least
the
you did it.
5,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how they do it for the adults, too.
Yeah.
But
There's something
I
to
knew
be
she was
said
going to
about
nail it.
Of course you did.
Put that on record.
But to operate under pressure is clearly
Yeah.
what they're looking for. So you may know all these things, and they've seen you because it's your instructor. Demonstrate your ability to technically complete these types of skills.
Yeah.
Whether it be a submission, a takedown, a position change, an escape, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But to do it under pressure and to recall the name and to be able to work whatever move that is, that's another character builder.
Yeah.
It's for some people impossible.
Yeah.
They won't even take the test; they'll just quit. There's huge percentages between belts of people that just quit, between white and blue, blue,
Yep.
purple, purple, brown, and brown and black.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even want to do the test. I was like, I'll stay a 4-stripe white belt
Yeah.
forever.
And I hear and see that all the time. So
Shit.
you did it.
Yeah.
I was,
Very cool.
I was a white belt for like 4 years.
Yeah,
That's how they
not
operate. At the academy I started training at was old school, though.
Not uncommon
Meaning
though.
I'm like-
It may be more uncommon now because
It
people are
is.
getting belts based upon their time that they are at a gym or how many classes they go.
Like, I feel like on some places that are like that, the belt system, the this, that, the
a
other,
little watered down.
it's like a McDojo. Like, they're just doing it to pull in money. But I also feel like when individuals, i.e. Christie, have put in work and the hours on the mats, then I'm like, okay, she deserves that. For instance, the competitions that she did, the time spent training, even the training that had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu had to do with jiu-jitsu, like her strength training.
yeah.
Her
Still related.
I mean, like, we didn't, her and Coach CJ and I, like, she would incorporate me, like, what would help me with this for jiu-jitsu. And so I can tell CJ and he'll formulate a program for me. And so, like, it was all based around that. So for her personally, I'm like, hell yeah, she freaking earned that blue belt. She put in time on the mats and she competed and walked home with some,
Awesome.
like, significant hardware. So to me, I'm like, that was definitely a deserved rank. Not like some of these other people where I'm like, yep.
Somebody just got
Yep.
one thrown. So Christie, I know your journey is still just going on. This is not like a finishing point. This has not been like a documentary of the climax of the journey. So we're gonna have you back. You know, let's get through some more things and let's definitely bring her back.
Absolutely. And you know, she I'm just gonna throw it out there for you. She she does food prep and she's gonna be learning to be nutritionist or nutritional something.
Please throw it out there.
Follow her on Facebook, follow her on Instagram. She'll give you the handles right now, but like it's important that because some people don't know what the F they're doing, and here you are setting it up and like showing people that it's maybe a little more time consuming, but it's doable. So what is your Facebook?
So Facebook is Christie Brown 252, and it's CHRISTI, and that's the same for both Facebook and Instagram. And then if you go to my website, wheremyfeethasgone.com, you'll see there's actually a link to my Instagram post. And then you can also see, which I've got to put back out there, what my diet currently looks like and my exercise routine, like what I'm actually doing on a weekly basis. So I'm going to start that back up this week.
Yeah, cool. And I think for anybody that's trying to get their journey started or anything in fitness and jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, whatever it is, it's like a good place to start is following you. You have a lot of good advice and experiences and sharing those things like on Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool to like see because it's inspiring and it's helpful, especially like the food
and it's
prep
real
stuff,
this is real life, man. Nobody made that story up. So Christie, again, check her out on Facebook, check her out on Instagram. We're Gym Crashers, so we'll be here Wednesday nights at 8. Like us, subscribe to us, share the link. Maria Rios, check her out. She's out there. Unicorn Zombie Slayer.
That's me.
And Christie Brown 252. Is that right? Christie with a CHRISTI Brown.
Yes.
252 on Facebook and Instagram. Her story continues to grow and change, and we're going to follow her. We're going to have her back. So thank you. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Woo woo, Christie.
All right. So that's been another episode of Gym Crashers. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.